Getting splashed by passing traffic and looking rather yellow in the snow, which is different to actual yellow snow, is this Renault Mégane Coupé, a 1997 enthusiast-owned car. It is a proper coupe with a boot rather than a hatch, and it's owned by a man called Mark, who is there from the YouTube channel Mark on Motoring. Hello everyone. Come on then, you're committed, you might as well carry on going, aren't you, Mr. White Van? Flash me 3 times, why don't you? Don't pretend you're my mate. Renault Coupé, Mégane Coupé, 1997?
Yep.
Right, good. 1.6 with 90 brake horsepower. Correct?
Yeah, and I think most of them are still there. I don't think many have escaped.
Well, at 116,000 miles, then you could imagine that some of them might have gone off to a different planet. I'm joined with Mark on Motoring, which is this chap here, and we're taking this Renault for a little blast over the hills, which will be fabulous.
Well, we are when all these coffin judges get out of the blooming way.
You can't say that. They're calling coffin dodgers. How do you know they're that old? Let's talk about the car. Now it's
yellow.
It's yellow, but I'm thinking of the driving dynamic.
Yeah, actually, you seem to fit in this car quite well. Actually, I was a bit concerned. I weren't sure if you were going to be too tall for this car, but you're probably only a similar height to me.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but I'm not a monster, you know. I'm not some sort of strange gangly creature that doesn't really fit into things at all. And I must say, actually, nice clutch on this, nice and smooth, nice and soft, a nice linear feel to it, and somewhere to rest your foot when you've finished changing from one gear to the next, and that's quite a nice thing. The brakes are adequate, perfectly good.
90s, aren't they?
I mean, it's not really the kind of thing I've ever heard anybody say before.
Well,
not
you've got
90s
servo,
brakes.
we've got servo assistance, we've got some vented discs up front and drums at the back, and they kind of stop you, but anyone who's only driven a modern car with mega powerful brakes might, the first time they have to anchor up in a hurry, they might get a bit of a shock.
Yeah, well, that's for people that drive in such a way where they want to be really, really close to you.
Yeah.
You know, they're very caring people.
I don't really use the brakes anyway. I mean, they only slow you down, so why bother?
That's a good point. I try not to use the brakes, not because I don't want to slow down, but because I think if you're looking far enough ahead properly, brakes aren't really needed, are they, a lot of the time?
No, not really. You were using acceleration sense.
Well, the modern brakes where you could be properly tailgating that Fiat, and then the moment that starts to brake, you're braking as well, and then you have this constant brake light illumination chain which causes tailbacks. I find that annoying.
Yeah, and plus it's also like trying to decipher Morse code. You just see this light blinking all the time.
Yeah. Do you know what? No. It's not like deciphering Morse code, is it? Not really. It's got quite a nice sound.
Yeah.
There's just a little bit of sportiness on the go. Yeah?
I actually find when you've got roof or windows open, especially on if you come off the gas and you allow it sort of on the overrun.
Oh, you get a little burble.
You get a little bit of a burp, and it's not forced like all these blooming boy racer idiots with the cracking and banging like a machine gun. I mean, what's that all about?
It's about telling the world that your penis doesn't work. That's the obvious thing to say. Mission accomplished, yeah. This map comes with a sticker on the back of your car that says, "My penis doesn't work." This is just right. I like that kind of eager to just go a bit, but not being actually fast.
Yeah, it's not going to peel your face off.
No.
The problem with modern cars, let's face it, the pacifiers with gadget touchscreens and turbos, don't they? And it's all big power. Whereas in a car from this era, generally, with a few exceptions, you can actually have a bit of fun without going stupidly quick.
Yeah.
And this car does weigh a little over a ton, so it's no featherweight, but it's certainly a lot lighter. I mean, the Mark IV equivalent of this car is 300 kilos heavier.
Yeah.
And you can feel it. Oh dear, we've got a bus.
We haven't really got the power to be overtaking it.
That we haven't. That's the one thing. With a car that hasn't got mega power, you tend to think a bit more. You choose your battles more wisely when it comes to overtaking.
You're quite a wordsmith, do you realise this?
It's been known on occasion. I think some people need a bottle of scotch to be that philosophical, don't they?
Well, it gives me the opportunity to do another little test anyway. And that is the Blackstone Edge 5th gear challenge.
Oh, right. Don't expect it to climb any hills in high gears.
Yeah, but it's doing alright.
It's not bad, actually. The K-Series engine was... Well, it was a bit like Rover's K-Series engine. So where they gave theirs twin cams and 16 valves and a high rev limit, what Renault did is they tried to get the torque lower down.
Yeah.
So we're doing like 1500 revs in 5th now, aren't we?
Yeah, and it's still going up the hill, it's not slowing down.
Well, peak torque's actually more around 4,000. I think 137 newton meters, which isn't exactly a wall of torque, but it's respectable for the time.
Well, I'm quite impressed actually.
Oh. Yep, that's right. Another day in the office here, freezing his tits off while a man walks around filming.
Now look at this. It is a coupe, an actual coupe, not a hatchback, which is what it looks like. Because of the way the boot opens like this, it looks like a snubby-nosed dog. The rear lamps appear to be wearing some sort of mask like they're at a sex party. It's a much shorter car than I remember. In fact, it is a shortened version of the Mégane. Now, because I don't do a car review with any kind of thought beforehand, I don't do any research, I just have a look. But we have a man here who does know about it. How much is the chassis shortened by, Mark? On
I don't know exactly how many millimetres shorter, but it is shorter. It's in fact based loosely on a Renault 19.
Yeah.
But it's shorter than one.
Well, yeah, I know.
It's wider than one.
It's wider, it's shorter.
And it's lower than one.
Yeah, well, I was expecting some more information, to be honest.
What else do you want to know?
Joining me here is resident expert on the Renault Coupe Mégane thingy called...
Almost.
Well, almost,
Not
yeah.
almost joining you, almost expert.
We've done this one already because we can't seem to agree on what his actual purpose is.
No. My wife said that as well.
Your purpose is just to stand around looking French.
I'm not very good at it then, am I?
Put your glasses back on. There's our lovely wroughty stainless steel back box. There's the rest of the exhaust stainless steel.
Stainless catback.
Right.
Centre and rear sections.
Yeah, good. Diddy wheels, well, 14-inch wheels that used to be normal sized, but now are considered Diddy. The scoopy kind of door. It should have an S in front of that, make it look like a Hyundai. In some angles, this actually looks like one of those Nissan 100 SXs as well. The only thing is, it's too cold to be stood out here doing this, so let's get back in. There's something of the Puma look about the back as well. The Capri style rear window. I think that's what does it. Remember the 106 had a keypad down there, and he had a 4-digit number that you had to put in there. And I always remember, for some reason, a chap I knew called George who had a 106. I remember that his keypad number was 1936 when I changed the radiator for him. I mean, I don't really think I'm violating any
particular security issues because the car's probably long gone by now, and you don't know which George I'm talking about.
True.
I'll see if I can remember his full name. The interior, of course, is quite grey, but it's kind of a bluey grey as well. What about the quality of the material? Not too bad, actually. Not too bad. It's quite soft. It's got some hard bits there, of course. It's all rather bulbous and rather feminine looking, in fact. It's nice. It's pleasant. It's easy on the eye.
I look at the back, but the doors are like a more rubbery elephant hide.
Elephant hide. Yeah, is that something you've mentioned before in one of your videos?
I don't know. I could have done.
It's going in mine now.
A long time ago. So I did mention in one of my videos.
What's that?
Well, how this car, being from the 90s, doesn't have any cup holders, but it does have ashtrays front and rear. Your wife, your girlfriend, and your mistress can all smoke at the same time.
Yeah, smoking whilst driving is fine, but drinking isn't.
Apparently so.
And that's in France. So they don't have cup holders. What about wine bottle openers?
I don't know. I mean, there have been the odd car that's had a baguette holder, I believe.
Oh, yeah. I just thought it'd be really funny if you had if your French car had like a corkscrew coming out the roof.
I'll tell you, it's interesting. You know, when I actually took this car back to where it was assembled in Belgium.
Oh, right.
A 36-hour road trip from Yorkshire to near Brussels and back. Obviously filmed the whole thing as well. But yeah, Sunday morning, got off the Le Shuttle in France, hit the main roads, tuned in the radio, and every local radio station seemed to be playing accordion music.
How appropriate. How appropriate indeed. Oh, that's quite nice.
Yeah, that's it. Seems to thank you for it. When you get above 4, it just pulls, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like it doesn't want to do it.
But
It
for a
revs.
single can 8-valve engine, it's surprisingly
Free,
sprightly at
yeah.
the top, isn't it?
Has it got decent tyres on it?
Yeah, Avon ZT7s.
Well, match is set.
As matching set, and as far as tyres on 14-inch go, your choice of reasonably sporty tyres is somewhat limited.
Yeah, there will be. It's got a bit of a bounce to it though, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, the thing is, in the 90s, this probably felt quite firm, but cars have got a lot firmer, tyre profiles have got lower, and compared to a modern car, it is quite soft.
Yeah.
Incidentally, I did drive a 2-litre 16-valve one earlier this year.
Yeah.
And I can see now why Clarkson drove one with a sponge on his head back in the day, because they are very, very firm.
Oh, right, because it kept hitting his head.
Yeah. Well, it would be ridiculous though, putting a man 6 foot odd in one of these. I mean, you'd need a tin opener to get him out, wouldn't you, by the end of the shoot?
I don't know, is that what they used? I thought with that big curly hair that he used to have, that would have been adequate enough for a sponge.
Yeah, you would think so.
You're a lunatic.
What?
You're a lunatic.
I didn't splash you, did I?
No.
Yeah, I think these cars at home on roads like this.
Yeah, it does feel quite stable actually.
But you tend to find it's really, really grippy, and it grips and grips and grips, and then
Stops gripping.
well, it'll sort, unlike a modern car where the grip and then you die.
How long have you had this car then, Mark?
Oh gosh, coming up to 4 years.
Oh right, I thought it was going to be longer than that for some reason.
No, is it coming up to 4? I lose track. I think it's coming up to 4 years. I do remember turning up at home with it on the back of a transporter in the dead of November.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Well, like it was some sort of secret...
Well, my wife
Secret.
looked out, opened door, looked out, rolled her eyes and went back inside.
Why was she not impressed?
Well, it's yellow, isn't it?
Is that what it was?
She actually bought me a car cover, but I don't think it was to protect the car. I think it was just to try and...
I had to stop anyone from looking at it.
Yeah.
Right. Does she like it now?
Well, she doesn't complain so much.
Well, you know, you give up complaining after a while when nothing gets done, don't
Yeah,
you?
true.
That's the thing, you've got to beat women at the wrong game. Not the Chrysler. The Dodge Avenger, that was it. That was the only car I've ever driven that I couldn't find anything at all I liked about it. Even its chiseled face that looked like Stan from American Dad. This car, lots of things I like about it. I like its quirky, cute looks. I don't think I get on with that boot though, particularly. I mean, it's alright if you're just carrying around shopping or camera equipment. But once you want to start carrying bigger, longer things, mind you, the seats do go.
Seats do fold, yeah. It's just the little letterbox that you've got to shoehorn things in through.
Shoehorn. The thing about cars like this is they're clearly from a different decade, but they don't look that old, do they?
No.
I'd like it if it had a leather steering wheel, a leather coated steering wheel.
Yeah, you had to get a 2-litre 16 valve to get one of those.
Yeah. That's what I think would improve it.
But that steering wheel's like rocking horse now because it's got the horn push buttons.
This one's
and only the early cars had that, so trying to get a replacement steering airbag compatible steering wheel with the horn push is nigh on impossible now. They've all got it on the stalk.
Do you reckon that number plate's illegal?
Can't even read it without my glasses on.
Well, that's some mad spacing, isn't it?
Just while you were on the subject of things you like about cars,
yeah.
From watching one of your very recent videos, I know for a fact this car has got something you will approve of in the seating department.
Lumbar support.
Lumbar support.
Lumbar support. It's so important if you're going to do any kind of journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
There is something really very eager about this car.
It's got a certain energy, hasn't it?
It has. It's the.
I did say to you before, it defies the numbers, doesn't it? It on paper, it's not a quick car.
Well, it doesn't feel quick. It just feels eager.
Yeah.
It's
a bit like a little Jack Russell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, it's not going to do any damage.
It wants to fight everything.
It wants to fight everything, and you don't really want your leg being bitten not because you're going to get hurt, but you just can't be bothered going for a tetanus. And that's a bit like what this car's like.
Well, I find actually, because I've done a few long journeys in it, it copes very well. It's obviously the seats are nicely sculpted, they're supportive, yet they've still got that comfort that only French car seats seem to offer. I mean, you had a Renault 25 at one point, didn't you?
Yes, I love the Renault 25.
Yeah, I mean, that really was a boardroom on wheels. So French are very good at squishy seats.
And you wonder really why more cars aren't like that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you're going to be doing any amount of driving, you actually want to be comfortable, don't you? We reckon it's like a Jack Russell. Okay.
With a French accent now.
Yeah, rather than a Brummie accent.
Yeah. Actually, you know, I know that the coupes are female and that the hatchbacks are male because the 1990s TV advert, the hatchback one had a male voice, but the coupe advert actually, which I think might even be out there on YouTube somewhere, it actually had a sexy French female voice.
It's a totally feminine car though, isn't it? I mean, with everything like the back end, this is the kind of thing I would normally be saying whilst walking around it. The back end looks like it's got wide hips.
Yeah. Did she make you want to do a sex suite?
I'm trying to avoid stuff like that. If it was a powerful car, it would be like a Jack Russell, but with a powerful dog's head. And that would be dangerous. So you imagine a Jack Russell. Imagine something like a Bull Mastiff with the attitude of a Jack Russell. It'd just go around murdering everything, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That wouldn't be a good trait to have in your car. Now, we've used the dog analogy quite a lot with this, but looking at it again here, it's just so doggy. Look at the profile, the way the overhang is much bigger than it is on the back. It does look like a small dog tugging on a lead. Underneath the bonnet is where we find the 1.6 90 brake horsepower engine, which is a
8-valve
K-series.
K-series it is. Much like Rover, but Renault's K-series, which is sort of their lean burn engine, actually doesn't produce all of its power at the top end.
No.
Because the Rovers had twin cams and 16 valves, didn't they?
Yeah, well, this is actually a lot less sophisticated because it's a steel block.
Yes. Well, as you know, it's a cast iron block.
Yeah.
With an alloy head,
Yeah.
which means your coolant will always come back brown no matter how many times you flush it. The other thing with these cars, we've still got a throttle cable, good old-fashioned throttle cable. That strut race does get hot as well, by the way.
How is it?
We've got coil packs, but we've still got HT leads. So it's
It's a bit of a mix of the old and new, isn't it?
It's like we've got a plug inside the car to plug in an OBD reader, but it's not compatible with OBD2.
No, well, that's not a surprise.
Got to use Renault Clip.
I haven't really quite got my seat as I want it, I don't think. That you're braking for me there, aren't you? You're doing what every passenger should do, which is, it is braking, it's not an insult, but you see something ahead, and so what you do is you put your foot to the floor in case the driver isn't looking ahead in the same way that you are yourself.
So if I'd have bought a Peugeot, I could have actually done that for you, because if I remember rightly, we did have an issue where the passenger could press the footwell and actually put the brakes on.
How does that work?
I'm not entirely sure. I think it was something to do with the conversion to right-hand drive. Then there was a rod that went across, and
Oh, right, oh I see.
there was a certain design issue where...
By applying enough pressure, you could actually activate the front, well, the brakes.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thought. It's a crap place for a skip, that, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It's a car that seems to be eager enough to excite, almost, but it's still placid enough to be comfortable. Whereas when I drove the 16 valve, I think on a long journey that might have grated me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it was so rock hard.
Yeah, well, I don't get that at all. This rock hard suspension thing. One of my dedicated followers called Windy Miller said about German cars that in Germany you have smooth roads, yet they choose to have tall wall tyres. You imagine someone from Germany coming to Britain and hiring a car, and they end up with like rubber band wheels and potholes everywhere to deal with. They'd hate it.
German cars. A lot of BMW, modern BMW in particular, I believe, use run flats. And
Yeah.
I was coming around the
They're horrible.
M25 in this car, in a heat wave with the windows open and everything,
Yeah.
on sections of concrete road.
Oh yeah.
And my wheels, I couldn't hear a lot of noise off, but a BMW came past me and crikey, it were deafening.
Yeah. It sounded like a plane.
Yeah. But again, this is from an era where cars were built with a little bit of comfort. Engineers, I think, had a little bit more say, where now the engineers seem to have to bend to the will of designers, where everything's got... I mean, that new Renault 5, 18-inch wheels across the range. I mean, that's probably partly to mask the size that it's enormous for a small car.
Yeah, because if it had normal size wheels, then the wheels would look diddy on it.
Yeah, well, now that everything, even if it's not an SUV, it's an SUV now. So if you put 14-inch wheels on it, it would look like it had casters on, wouldn't it?
Yeah. My wife was complaining about getting into the Rover 414 that I have and saying it feels like it's on the ground. I said, well, that's what... It's a car. That's what normal cars actually are.
Yeah.
We've got an emergency vehicle coming the other way. Oh, there we go. See that cop? He had a beard. I didn't think they ever had beards.
Must be a trend.
Have you got a beard?
I won't really call it a beard, it's just more...
You have what I always
stubble.
called a
With
nearly
the
beard.
Don Johnson look.
But yeah, roll them up a bit. Well, you had your glasses on when you first come in the yard this morning as well.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I do when I drive. I do actually wear glasses.
Well, to be honest, this morning when you come in the yard, that was the first time I ever thought he looks cool.
I actually, I once bought a pair of spectacles from an eye centre where a friend worked. I was looking at frames, and I actually bought a set of frames on the premise that he said they were the ones that maybe look most like Roy Orbison.
Roy Orbison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put these on. He said, "Yep, they're the ones that make you look like Roy Orbison." And I said, "Yep, I'll take them."
Sold on something that didn't happen. That's an interesting idea.
Yeah.